Hello everyone, I'm Ray Sette. Thank you once again for sitting with me and welcoming my interpretations of the astrological influence that I am seeing, sensing, and feeling for this coming month of November. Today is actually Halloween, so many blessings to everyone on this day. For those of us who do celebrate Halloween and the pagan Wiccan holiday of Samhain. You know, one of the greatest influences that we experience at this time is that the veil between the worlds, the physical world and the spiritual world, is very thin. However, you know, for some of us, sometimes that veil is always very thin, regardless of what time of year it is. However, certainly this is a time for us to remember those of us who have transitioned into the spiritual realm, our loved ones who have departed from the earth plane, the lower vibrational earth plane, although I do believe that once they've transitioned into spirit, while they exist at higher vibrations, certainly they do continue to walk the earth, they continue to interact with the earth. You know, we're becoming very aware of how these interactions are very real. As I've mentioned before many times, how we've seen such surges of the paranormal shows, the psychic medium shows, on television, and I always say that much of that certainly is very much sensationalized, and we really need to take a lot of that with a grain of salt. As much truth, as if you will, as there is too much of that, a lot of that is misinterpreted. It's very much sensationalized. It's really misrepresented, and it does take away the reverence of the work that it is that we do. You know, I'm emphasizing the reverence of this psychic work because we have on November 11th, we have our next new moon, and it's in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign that is most connected with the spiritual realm. It's a sign that is associated with the physical transition into the spirit realm. Scorpio is also the sign of empowerment. It can also be the sign of disempowerment. You know, every sign possesses a higher and lower vibrational quality to it. And when we choose to observe it and demonstrate those energies from higher vibrational experiences, we do tap into the higher qualities, the higher elements of those signs. You know, the signs are really not necessarily bad or good per se, because that's just a judgment. They're polarities of energy, positive and negative, and it doesn't necessarily mean bad or good. Negative does not necessarily mean bad. Positive does not necessarily mean good. They're polarities of energy, and because we exist in the physical world, everything is created of matter. And matter cannot be devoid of positive and negative energies and polarities. Certainly, we need to understand how we can tap into the higher vibrational energies and polarities so that we can experience a greater sense of peacefulness and harmony, certainly in our own lives, but for others as well. As I was saying, November 11th, our new moon is in the sign of Scorpio. We have the moon, the sun, as well as Mercury in the sign of Scorpio, and they are in very much close proximity to one another in the heavens at that time. Also, here in the United States, when we cast the new moon chart for the United States, the new moon alignment is in the ninth house of that chart. And as I've mentioned before in other forecasts, the ninth house, that's the house of Sagittarius. It is a sign of the higher mind. So those of us who are connected to this energy or have a heightened sense of awareness of our connection to psychic energy, certainly that quality is going to very much surge as we go through these next weeks. I'm going to suggest that in the time before the new moon, which I have referred to as being the dark moon, that is a time of cleansing, I would certainly encourage any of us who might be experiencing an overaccumulation of negative psychic energy, unwanted psychic energy, erratic psychic energy. Use the time before the new moon to clear yourself and certainly your home of any residual, unwanted, unnecessary, imbalanced psychic energy specifically. And there are many ways that we can do that. You know, certainly Everyone here at the Mystical Moon can help you with that. But I'm going to certainly suggest to be aware of that time and to dedicate the time to really clear the energy in your homes of unwanted psychic energy, as well as any of these accumulations on yourself. It's certainly a good idea to do this on a regular basis. However, when the energies in the heavens are that much more favoring these experiences, certainly we want to tap into the resources that are being given to us from the spiritual realm. For those of us who want to embark on developing our intuitiveness and our psychic abilities, certainly the time of the new moon is an optimum time to do that because it is heightening psychic energy. So certainly work with someone while you're on this experience of developing your own intuitiveness, because, you know, as much as we are aware of the positive vibrations of psychic energy, there are also a lot of connections with the negative energy, and we have to be very, very aware to always keep ourselves protected, always ask for protection, because when we are not aware of what it is that we are embarking upon and engaging in, we can certainly open up a Pandora's box to unwanted experiences. And I do say that with certainly with a bit of caution. You know, I encourage everyone to really be aware of how all of this operates, especially if you're noticing your own intuitiveness is heightening. You know, you certainly don't want to go out and start connecting with all the energy that's out there and any type of energy, because it can create imbalances. And that's a much more greater topic than I can talk about right now. But I'm going to encourage you, do the education, do the research, for yourself, and really understand what you're experiencing, especially if you're noticing that your intuitiveness is heightening. Now's the time to begin developing that. Allow yourself to really connect and be shown how you connect personally with the spirit realm, because these connections are very personal to every one of us. The way that I connect with spirit isn't necessarily the way that another intuitive medium would connect with spirit as well. It's very, very personal. Just as our astrological compositions are personal, just as our fingerprints are very personal, so is the way that we connect with this energy. So I'm certainly encouraging you at this time, do this for yourself. Really embrace these opportunities for yourself, and certainly welcome the possibilities. Our full moon is on November 25th, and our full moon is in the sign of Gemini. Now, Gemini is the sign that's most associated with communication. And what I'm going to encourage everyone to recognize as we go through this time, because in addition to the full moon, the planets Saturn and Neptune are forming a bit of a harsh alignment in the heavens, and that alignment is going to be very much present as we go through 2016. The first time that alignment is specific and exact is on the November 26th. It's actually the day after the full moon. So that energy is very much heightened at the time of the full moon. Now, with this specific alignment, and I'm speaking of the alignment of Saturn, which is in the sign of Sagittarius, and Neptune, which is in the sign of Pisces. Sagittarius, as I said, is the sign of the higher mind. Sagittarius also represents the spiritualists, or the religious leaders. The sign Pisces is another sign that connects very much so with psychic sensitivity. It also does connect with religion and spirituality. And when these two planets form a bit of a harsh alignment, if you will, we have to be very, very careful of the information that we are being given and that is coming to us, certainly from spiritual and religious leaders, and I would actually say I would include myself in that as well, to be very clear when you receive any information that comes from the higher mind, from higher spiritual beings, if you will, from higher spiritual leaders, and to be very clear and understand what it is that you are receiving. Because this energy creates a bit of a conflict, if you will, we may be misled in certain ways from certain types of religious or spiritual leaders. But what this is trying to show us, because whenever there's the emphasis of a negative quality, we can always embrace the positive from that experience when we choose to experience it and understand it from a heightened sense of awareness. You know, for many years now, organized religion actually is not necessarily what it once was. And I'm not saying this to discredit anyone's religion, certainly anyone's spiritual beliefs, because I do believe that all religion has merit. However, many times it's misinterpreted and it's being misrepresented. And those misrepresentations may certainly be heightened as we go through this next year. And the benefit in that is that Spirit is encouraging us to really recognize what is right for us personally. And it doesn't mean that we are here to make another person wrong. We are here to recognize what works for us. What do we connect with? What information, what philosophies, what learnings, what teachings can we use in our own lives, apply them for ourselves and our own spiritual growth. It's also a time for us to be that much more dedicated, to be very clear with what it is that we are receiving from Spirit. And this, yes, it does sound a bit challenging. However, the challenges do encourage and emphasize our personal growth, because if we didn't have the challenges, if we did not need to do the work, then we would not necessarily experience the facilitation of our spiritual growth process. And I emphasize our spiritual growth process. You know, for many, many years, we are really being given the opportunity to know and to understand true spirituality. Because quite honestly, true spirituality, the real spirituality, was around long before humanity created religion. Also, true spirituality connects with nature. It connects with the natural world. It really does connect with that God Christ consciousness, with whatever that might be. And that does not necessarily connect with someone's physical embodiment. These are higher vibrations of energy. And we are becoming much more aware of how all of this is very real and how it truly works as nature, spirit intended it to, with whatever that might be. Again, it's certainly all open up to interpretation. However, this is a time for us to really understand what works for us personally with all of this and all of these understandings. You know, in these next few weeks, we may even see experiences where highly evolved beings, if you will, I don't know if they're necessarily going to show themselves physically, but you know what? They just might. You never know. And certainly those beings really are higher vibrational, and they're certainly here to facilitate and assist us in facilitating this human experience that we are having. You know, in this next year or so, we may even be given information on how these existences, on how these highly evolved beings are very much real, if you will. They may not necessarily be real in the physical realm, but they are very real in the spiritual realm. I believe it was in 1977 I heard of an experience where there was an interruption in a broadcast in the United Kingdom, and to this day it's really not understood how that broadcast was interrupted. So I would suggest actually maybe even Googling that experience, because it's on YouTube, so it's out there somewhere. You know, and I bring that up because much of what was happening astrologically at that time is also very much present right now. Some believe that the interruption of that broadcast was the intervention of highly evolved beings. Quite honestly, we don't know for sure. However, it's all in the realm of possibilities. And I bring this up because there are similar alignments taking place at this time as there were back then. And again, this is just one more way to spirit to show itself. You know, and sometimes, you know, spirit doesn't interfere with our free will. However, sometimes it will have to kind of hit us over the head to say, come on, pay attention, wake up. You know, so I encourage everyone to just, you know, take this information and come up to your own conclusions, because that's really why we present this, to give alternative understandings, alternative possibilities to all that it is that we are experiencing. And I'm emphasizing the element of communication to connect with, as I said, with the full moon that we have on November 25th, and that we need to be very, very clear with the information that we are receiving, that we are being given, that is presented to us. By doing so through the practices and the experiences of meditation, keeping ourselves grounded, we will know and we will understand what works for us personally. So, I will be returning to the mystical moon on November 17th. That will be my first day back at the mystical moon. My schedule is just about filled. I know there could be a few more appointments available. I may actually add a day or two if there is a demand for that as well. So once again, I'm wishing everyone a very blessed Halloween, Samhain, and certainly take care of yourselves, take care of each other, stay in the light, and always in a place of love. Namaste.